Hey everyone, it's Nate here with Element Van Life. Just enjoying this beautiful Tuesday afternoon here. I'm going to do my Tuesday Q&A video. If you have any questions for the next one, just post them below and I will answer them in the next Tuesday Q&A. I've been doing these every other Tuesday for now, so let's get started, guys. We got a lot of great questions here. Thank you guys for your comments as well and your support. You know, it's no problem. I think that these Q&As are a great way to get a lot of good information out there, so I like doing them, and I'm going to keep doing them every other Tuesday for now. So, like I said, post your questions below, and I'll answer them in the next one. Let's get started. So, Gary Boyer says, "Hey Nate, hey, thanks for the Q&A. My question is, does your sunroof leak at all where the solar cables come in? Thanks as always." No problem. So yeah, he's talking about right here, guys. I have my little solar cable come in. It's just the positive and the negative from the solar panel that runs to the charge controller down below over here. It doesn't really leak at all. I haven't really had any issues with it. I've had that wire like that running through there for probably since I guess probably a couple of months after I bought the Element. I got a solar panel, my first one, and of course it was defective, as we know. But whatever, I had the wire running through there pretty much the entire time, and it's never leaked. It has like this little sealant on it. You can kind of see it just from the other side of the panel here. Let me show you guys. You can get a little closer to it. It's got the little rubber right here, and then on the other side it has a little piece of rubber as well, and that seems to be just fine for sealing it in there. And when I close the sunroof at night, or when I close it during the day, even if it's raining, it doesn't leak at all. And even if I leave the sunroof open, it doesn't really leak either. Not too much unless it's like torrential rain or something like that. But I think that the sunroof is designed to prevent leaking. So overall, no issues with that. It works out really, really well. So Mike Can Cook asked a few questions here. He said, have you met any other YouTube van dwellers since you've been living in the Element? I have not met any other YouTubers yet. I would like to at some point. I'm hoping that I will, especially once I start traveling a little bit more. I should be in San Diego for the next couple of months, and then after that, you know, it's kind of up in the air, but I'm thinking I'm going to be moving around quite a bit more. So at that point, maybe I'll be able to meet up with some others, but I haven't met any just yet. Are there any modifications to your Element setup that you wish you did or are planning to do in the near future? For the Reflectix on the windows, I really want to improve that. I think that there's a question coming up on that as well. I looked through it very briefly, but yeah, the Reflectix on the windows I would like to redo entirely because they're kind of falling off. You can even see the one behind you here. It's like hanging off, and like I have like duct tape sticking up there, so I gotta just take the time to redo them and make them maybe fit a little bit better, and just make a better, you know, improvements to that. I think that would help a little bit. Also, I'm thinking about getting like a little LED light strip to put somewhere in here, maybe along here or along there, and I'll make a video on that because I use my phone at night to get around with light, but it does get kind of old. It's kind of hard to see some things, and I sometimes will spill like toothpaste on my bed and stuff like that when I'm trying to brush my teeth, so it's kind of annoying. So I'm thinking about maybe trying to make just some little battery operated lights, something really, really simple, just so I have a light in here that I can use at nighttime that'll still be incognito, but will allow me to be able to maybe see a little better so I can see what I'm doing. That's it for mods right now in terms of things that I have planned and that maybe I wish I've done so far. I wish I got the fridge earlier. That's another mod. That's got a big truck driving by here. That's another mod that maybe I wish I had done a little bit sooner, and probably could have if I had just like planned a little better, but I didn't realize I'd be able to run it on my solar system. I kind of just assumed I wouldn't, and, you know, among other things, you know, it was expensive, obviously, to get the fridge, but getting the fridge is something that has greatly improved my quality of life, and it's probably my favorite thing that I have in here, my favorite, you know, thing that I've added. Third question, Mike and Cook also asked, what are your favorite YouTube channels and YouTube van dwellers? There's a whole bunch that I really like that I've watched. I mean, Into the Mystery 13, I really like Jed's channel a lot. That's one that I've been into just because he's obviously younger. I don't know how old he is exactly. I think he's a little bit older than me, maybe my age. I'm not sure, but either way, you know, that's definitely one that's really interesting. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. I mean, I watched like a lot of Will Burson's videos, you know, Bob Wells' channel with, you know, from Cheap RV Living. I remember when I was first getting into this whole thing, I found cheaprvliving.com years ago, you know, a couple of years ago, and I think it was probably even maybe 3 years ago, even when I was just kind of considering it. That's that's a big part of what kind of just put the thought in my head that you could actually live in a van. So finding that stuff was really, really awesome. And I've watched, I think it's Enigmatic Nomadics, his channel there is really, really cool. He's got a lot of great interviews and stuff like that. So I watched that one a lot, among a bunch of others. Like I said, Will Burson, was one that I watched a lot of his videos, and I can't even remember all of them off the top of my head right now while I'm on the spot, but there's a whole bunch that I'm really into. Where's My Office Now is a really cool one. I've watched their videos a lot with the Vanagon and their travels as well. It's a cool one. A whole bunch of really cool ones that I've seen. What else do we have here? So Sanctus Vini asked, said, I just bought an Element for camping. Right on. Element's an awesome car. Big fan of it, obviously. I'm repairing the mechanicals first. How old are you? He asked. I'm 26 years old, guys. How long do you plan to stay in the Element? That I guess probably as long as I can, until life circumstances maybe change to a point where I would need a bigger van for some reason. I don't really know why that would happen. Like maybe if I were to get like a pet, or like maybe have someone else want to travel with me or something like that. But right now I don't really see myself making any changes unless maybe something horribly goes wrong with the Element, like something that it makes it beyond repair. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen anytime soon. But barring those situations, I think that I'll be staying in the Element for the foreseeable future. I don't really plan to make any changes here. I want to travel more, and I certainly don't want to pay rent here in San Diego if I do stay here for any longer than the next month or so. So that's the plan with that. And then he asked about the interior temp with the Reflectix installed in comparison to the ambient outside temperature. So, like I said, guys, I don't really know how much the Reflectix actually does. I don't know if it actually really helps too much. I'm sure it does a little bit. I know it does a little bit, but when this car, when the Element's parked in the direct sunlight with all the windows closed, it gets hot in here, obviously, and I'm sure that it helps a little bit to have the black in the windows, and then obviously when they're perfectly aligned with the windows, and there's no cracks, it definitely cools it off a little bit, maybe a few degrees cooler than it would be had, if there were absolutely no Reflectix. The one on the sunroof is obviously, very, very, very helpful. If it weren't for that, there is no shade built into the Element, or at least on mine there never was. So when the sun beats in, it cooks in here without that there. So the one here is incredibly important. It definitely will help bring the temperature down substantially. But on the side windows, I don't know how much those ones do. I have them primarily there for privacy. And then, obviously with a little bit of an added benefit of being able to keep the temperature a little bit cooler inside the Element. So Live Simply asked a few questions here. It said, love your channel. Thank you, I appreciate that. Questions, can you explain your water system you have? Is it a running water system with a pump? And if so, what kind? So the pump for the water system here, he's talking about, I think they're talking about the sink here. It's just a regular old pump. The sink is actually out of water right now. I need to replace that later today. But it's just a hand pump. It's not an electric pump or anything like that. I got the pump on Amazon, and if you head over to my website, elementvanlife.com, you'll see that there's a link in the store to the actual pump. I think it's under like random things or something like that, miscellaneous objects or whatever. But there's a link to it on there. You can check that out. It's an affiliate link, obviously, but it's that'll take you right to it. I think it was like $20 or $30 for the pump, and it works really well, guys. It's been awesome, so easy to use, and maybe at some point I'll add an electric pump to it. But the sink is so small that I feel like it's not really necessary. So, and Live Simply also said, solar power beginner here. If you add another battery to your 100 watt panel, will that hold more power than, or is the panel not large enough to charge more than, as I said, they were looking to use 100 watt panel. Okay, so for the panel that I've got up there, it's a 100 watt panel, and my battery is a 35 amp hour battery. So that is more than enough to charge up the 35 amp hour battery. I mean, my fridge will deplete roughly 10 amps, maybe somewhere between like 7 and 10 amps, depending on how often it runs overnight. And then by midday in direct sunlight, the panel will fill it up. If it's a cloudy day, I notice sometimes it doesn't fill it up 100%. It maybe gets to like 95% or so. But even on the most overcast of days, I've noticed that it gets very, very close to the full charge point by using my multimeter there. So you could almost definitely have a bigger battery. And at some point, you know, speaking of mods, going back to the previous question there, I'll definitely, that's another thing that I'll probably end up doing. Once this battery craps out, if it ever does, or if I need more power at some point, maybe if I'm playing the boondock for an extended period of time, it'd be nice to have a bigger battery. And I could absolutely afford to do that, to maybe go up to like a 75 amp hour battery or something like that. It'll be a little bit bigger, but you know, the 100 watt panel will definitely be able to, you know, maintain that charge and fill it up. Obviously from 12 o'clock on a sunny day until 5 o'clock, it's still peak sunlight hours, but the battery's already full, so it's not really adding to anything else. If I had a bigger battery, it would be filling that up even more. So definitely something you could do with a bigger battery. P.S. After seeing your channel, we were so mad we bought a CRV instead of an Element. The CRV does not seem to have that much room even. Yeah, that's true. The CRV is definitely a little bit smaller. That being said, the CRV does have a lot of room for a compact SUV, especially if you got one of the older ones with the chairs that like fold up, the back seats fold up against the front. It makes this huge area in the back, and I'm sure you can take them out and all that. But yeah, the Element's definitely bigger. I think I talked about this in one of my previous videos, but I almost ended up with a CRV, and I'm also very happy that I got the Element instead, just because it is, obviously, it has more space inside of it. I hope that answers your question about the solar panel. I know that it is a lot of information. It took me a while to figure out how to do the whole solar system and all of that. It's definitely a little bit overwhelming, and there's a lot of information that goes along with it, and I made a lot of mistakes, obviously. I had a defective panel on my roof for like a year. That's pretty bad. So, and I didn't realize it was defective. I bought like 4 charge controllers thinking that those were the problem, and it's crazy. It can definitely be a hassle. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot them to me, send me a message or anything, and I'm happy to help you out with that as much as I can. James Collins, Q&A, what is your Element like for fuel economy? So for fuel economy, I get just about 23 miles to the gallon on the highway, and then somewhere between 16 and 18 in the city, depending on how much city driving I do. I mean, right now, I try to stay within like a local area here. I don't go too far, you know, sometimes a little bit inland to like run to Walmart or something like that, and that's pretty much it. I stay in a pretty localized area, so I'm getting primarily city mileage right now, trying not to spend, you know, a lot of money on gas, so I'm not going too far. But yeah, I mean, it kind of varies somewhere in that area. You know, the most I've ever gotten on the highway is about 27 miles to the gallon. I was going downhill, I think, from Sedona, Arizona, down to Phoenix, and I hit over the course of the entire tank, I hit 27.8, I think it was, or something like that. But for the most part, right around 23, 24 on the highway, and 16 to 18 in the city. All right, Nubian Nomad asks, how tall are you, and how do you stay cool? So I am 5'9", guys, so my bed extends to exactly 6 feet in length, so it's more than big enough to spread out, and it's 34 inches wide, so I can get pretty comfortable in bed. It's, you know, it's fine. It's pretty good. So that's fine. And how do you stay cool? I'm planning to do a video on that specific topic about like staying cool in the summertime and that sort of thing. But you know, for the most part, obviously, not doing what I'm doing right now, spending time in the Element in the middle of the day. It's like 12 o'clock right now, guys, and I'm like, it's pretty warm in here already, and I have the windows open, but it's you know, and it helps, but spending time in here during the day, it obviously gets hotter, so avoiding that. You know, obviously, for me, using the ocean, it's a lot cooler by the beach, so I spend time by the beach when I can, or at the library, or at Starbucks where there's air conditioning, so that's another thing. And then staying hydrated, keeping the Reflectix in the windows is good. I mean, like I said, it helps a little bit, so that's definitely a good thing in terms of keeping it cooler in here, especially, you know, later in the day, towards the evening, and then at nighttime as well. I'm sure that helps a little bit. And then in the mornings, you know, right now I'm noticing that now it's summertime, so I'm getting woken up by the heat. But in the mornings, it's important, I'm sure, to have, especially this one on the sunroof here, because it keeps it at least bearable. It gets pretty hot though. By like 9 o'clock, it's like I gotta get out of here. I gotta go do something. So AKA John Holmes asked, this is the last question here, guys. If I missed the answer to my question, sorry. I think he put this on another video, but I figured it was for this one here. He said, are you saving money and living cheaper versus living in an apartment, etc.? Thanks. Yeah, so pretty much the reason why I'm doing this is and living in the van. A big reason is obviously to save money and not have to pay rent. it also allows me to pursue my passions a little bit easier and spend more time on that and not have to worry about it. But then another part is obviously saving money. I mean, this surf instructor thing is picking up for the season, for the summer, and I'm definitely going to be able to save some money if it can, assuming that it continues at the rate that it's at right now for the next couple of months. So my goal is to stash as much savings as I possibly can, and then I'll have that for whatever I end up doing in the future. If that is traveling for a couple of months, or if that is going somewhere else and getting a seasonal job for the winter somewhere else, and just continuing to build that savings up so that I have, for one, I want to obviously have a solid emergency fund for the case when something unpredictable goes wrong or something like that. But then also just to have that for my future for whatever I decide to do down the line. That's pretty much what I'm what that's for, though. The concept of just having savings and trying to live as minimally and cheaply as possible. It's also just a challenge, though. It's a challenge to live in a minimalist way, and I think that it's a good thing. I think that it's something that has greatly improved my life, and not having to worry about having all sort of stuff and all kind of things all over the place, and being able to kind of fit everything nicely to where I am here, and being able to have that so that I can kind of go wherever and not have to worry about anything else is pretty nice. It's pretty liberating, and that's another big draw for me in terms of living in the element. If you guys have any other questions, post them below. I'll answer them in the next video. Thank you for watching. I thank you guys for your support. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you all in the next video.